millionaire family's luxurious life turned into a fight for survival when raging wildfires forced them to flee their dream home in Los Angeles. But what happens when their escape takes a shocking turn? Mechanical failure, betrayal, and life-or-death decisions. This isn't just a story of survival. It's a journey of transformation, unexpected alliances, and a dramatic race against the flames. Stay with us to see how this family faces their greatest challenge yet, and how they emerge forever changed. Before we dive into this gripping tale of survival and resilience, let us know in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you're ready for more unforgettable stories like this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss what's coming next. The Kensington family was the epitome of wealth and success. Jonathan Kensington, a tech mogul, had made his fortune by building one of the largest software companies in the country. He was the type of man who turned heads, always seen in tailored suits and driving cars that cost more than some houses. His wife, Isabella, was equally admired. Her paintings hung in galleries across the world, and she moved with the grace of someone accustomed to luxury. Their home in Pacific Palisades was a testament to their status, a sprawling mansion with sleek glass walls surrounded by manicured lawns and overlooking the ocean. Inside, everything gleamed. Marble floors reflected the sunlight streaming in through floor-to-ceiling windows, and the scent of fresh flowers filled the air. It was a life most people could only dream of. Ethan, their 16-year-old son, stood at the edge of the pool, staring at his phone. His dark hair was messy, and he wore an expression of quiet defiance. He wasn't interested in his father's empire or his mother's art. He wanted freedom from their constant expectations. Nearby, 14-year-old Sophia sat cross-legged on a lounge chair, sketching. Her drawings often captured emotions that words couldn't express. She was the quiet one, always observing. The day started like any other. Jonathan was in his office, pacing as he spoke into a headset about an upcoming acquisition. Isabella worked in her studio, adding final touches to a canvas. Ethan and Sophia argued about who would pick the music for their shared ride to school. Then the news broke. A wildfire, fueled by strong winds and dry conditions, was spreading rapidly through Los Angeles. Reports played on every station, showing footage of flames devouring hillsides and smoke darkening the sky. Evacuation warnings were being issued for multiple neighborhoods, including the Palisades. Isabella entered the living room, remote in hand, her face tight with worry. "Jonathan, we need to leave." Jonathan waved her off without looking up from his laptop. "It's always exaggerated. We're safe here. The fire won't reach this far." Isabella gestured to the television. "The winds are making it unpredictable. They're telling everyone to evacuate." Ethan, who had been scrolling through his phone, interjected. "People are saying traffic's a nightmare. We should go now, if we're leaving." Jonathan looked up, irritated. "Don't overreact. This house is built to withstand anything. We'll be fine." Sophia spoke softly. "What if we're not?" Isabella didn't wait for more debate. She turned to the children. "Pack a bag. Essentials only. We're leaving." Jonathan's resistance faltered when the evacuation order was officially announced. An automated message blared through the neighborhood, instructing residents to leave immediately. The air outside was already thick with smoke, and the distant hum of sirens added to the tension. The family sprang into action. Isabella grabbed photo albums and passports. Ethan packed his laptop and a few clothes, muttering about how unnecessary it felt. Sophia carefully wrapped one of her sketchbooks before throwing it into a backpack. Meanwhile, Jonathan lingered in his office, trying to decide which of his trophies and awards to take. "Jonathan," Isabella's voice rang out, "we don't have time for that. We need to go." Rumbling, he left most of the items behind and joined his family by the car. Their sleek SUV gleamed in the driveway, but the ominous glow on the horizon was impossible to ignore. Smoke curled into the sky, and the winds carried the acrid scent of burning wood. For the first time, Jonathan looked uneasy. They loaded into the car, slamming doors shut against the heat. As they pulled out of the driveway, Sophia glanced back at their home. The sunlight reflecting off its glass walls made it look like it was glowing, almost on fire itself. "Will it still be there when we come back?" she asked quietly. No one answered. The only sound was the hum of the engine as they joined the long line of cars inching their way out of the neighborhood. The perfect life they had built seemed fragile now, like it could all be swept away in an instant. The Kensingtons joined the exodus from Pacific Palisades, their luxury SUV inching through a sea of vehicles. The air was thick with smoke, and the distant glow of flames painted the horizon. Tension filled the car, each family member lost in their thoughts. As they approached a congested intersection, they noticed a middle-aged couple, Rick and Janine, standing beside an old pickup truck. The hood was up and Rick's hands were smeared with grease as he attempted repairs. Their dog, a nervous terrier, barked at the passing cars. Isabella watched them with concern. "Hey, Jonathan, we should help them," she said softly. Jonathan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "We can't afford to stop. We need to keep moving." Ethan, from the back seat, muttered, "Maybe if we'd left earlier, we wouldn't be in this mess." Jonathan's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. Up ahead, Officer Morales directed traffic, his face streaked with soot. He waved cars forward, urging drivers to stay calm. The wind picked up suddenly, causing the flames to leap closer to the road. Panic spread among the evacuees as embers drifted through the air. "Dad, look!" Sophia pointed to a car engulfed in flames on the shoulder. Jonathan's eyes widened. "We need to move faster." But the traffic was at a standstill. Ethan's frustration boiled over. "This is your fault. You said we didn't need to leave. Now look where we are." Jonathan turned to face his son, anger flashing in his eyes. "I was trying to protect our home, our life." "What's the point of a home if we're not alive to live in it?" Ethan shot back. Isabella placed a hand on Jonathan's arm. "This isn't helping. We need to focus on getting out of here safely." Officer Morales approached their vehicle, urgency in his voice. "The fire's getting too close. We need to divert traffic to the side roads, follow the detour signs and keep moving." Jonathan nodded, his earlier confidence shaken. As they followed the detour, the reality of their situation set in. The fire was unpredictable, and their safety was far from guaranteed. The family drove in silence, the weight of unspoken fears pressing down on them. The road ahead was uncertain, and the flames showed no mercy. As the Kensingtons navigated the smoke-filled roads, their SUV began to falter. The engine sputtered and warning lights flashed on the dashboard. Jonathan's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "What's happening, Dad?" Sophia's voice trembled. "It's the heat and ash," Jonathan replied, trying to mask his concern. The car struggling. The vehicle lurched before coming to a halt on the shoulder of an unfamiliar road. Around them, chaos reigned. Evacuees hurried past, faces masked against the choking smoke. The distant roar of the wildfire grew louder, a constant reminder of the approaching danger. "We can't stay here," Isabella urged, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of refuge. Before Jonathan could respond, a familiar voice called out, "Need some help?" Turning, they saw Rick and Janine approaching, their dog trotting beside them. Despite their own predicament, they offered assistance. "Our truck gave out back there," Rick explained, wiping soot from his forehead. "But I know a bit about engines. Mind if I take a look?" Jonathan hesitated, pride warring with practicality. "I appreciate it, but I think it's beyond a quick fix." Janine glanced at the sky where thick smoke clouds blotted out the sun. "We need to find shelter. The fire's getting closer." Ethan, frustration evident in his posture, spoke up. "We should start walking. Waiting here is pointless," Livigay said. Jonathan shook his head. "Leaving the car isn't safe. Help will come." "Cell towers are down," Ethan countered, holding up his powerless phone. "No one's coming." Tension thickened as father and son locked eyes, each unwilling to back down. Isabella stepped between them. "Arguing won't help. We need a plan." Rick nodded. "There's a community center about a mile from here. If we stick together, we can make it." Jonathan sighed, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. "All right, let's go." Gathering what essentials they could carry, the group set off, the oppressive heat intensifying with each step. The fire's relentless advance spurred them on, unity their only defense against the encroaching inferno. As the group pressed on, the oppressive heat and thickening smoke tested their resolve. The distant crackle of the advancing wildfire served as a constant reminder of the urgency of their situation. Along the way they encountered other stranded evacuees, forming a diverse group united by a common goal: survival. Among them was Angela, a nurse whose calm demeanor and medical expertise quickly established her as a leader. She assessed the group's health, offering reassurance and guidance. "Stay low to avoid the smoke," Angela advised, her voice steady. "And cover your mouths with cloth if you can." Tommy, a young boy clutching a singed teddy bear, had been separated from his parents in the chaos. Sophia took his hand, offering comfort. We'll find them, she promised, her tone gentle yet firm. The journey was fraught with obstacles. Fallen trees blocked their path, and the smoke grew denser with each passing minute. At one point they reached a crossroads, a direct route engulfed in flames, and a longer, uncertain path that might offer safety. "We need to decide quickly," Rick urged, glancing nervously at the encroaching fire. After a brief deliberation, they chose the safer path, abandoning any thoughts of retrieving their vehicles. The decision weighed heavily, but survival took precedence over material possessions. As they navigated the treacherous terrain, Sophia and Tommy's bond deepened. She shared stories to keep his spirits up, distracting him from the surrounding peril. Meanwhile, Ethan observed Rick's resourcefulness, his ability to find safe passages, his quick thinking in moments of crisis. Ethan's initial skepticism gave way to admiration, and he began to emulate Rick's actions, learning the importance of adaptability and resilience. The group's cohesion grew stronger with each challenge they overcame. Angela's leadership, Rick's practicality, and the shared determination to protect the vulnerable, like Tommy, fostered a sense of unity. Yet the ever-present threat of the wildfire loomed large. Near misses with encroaching flames kept their adrenaline high, and the path to safety remained uncertain. The group's resolve was tested repeatedly, but their collective will to survive propelled them forward. As they pressed on, the flickering glow of the fire cast long shadows, a stark reminder of the peril they faced. But within the group, a newfound camaraderie blossomed, an unlikely alliance forged in the crucible of disaster. As the group pressed on, they discovered an abandoned cabin, offering a brief respite from the relentless heat and smoke. Inside they found minimal supplies, canned food, bottled water, and basic medical kits. Angela, the nurse, quickly organized the resources, tending to minor injuries and distributing water. Tensions rose when Rick discreetly attempted to set aside extra provisions for himself and Janine. Ethan noticed and confronted him. "We need to share everything equally," he insisted. Rick defended his actions. "I'm just trying to ensure our survival." The disagreement drew the group's attention, sparking a heated debate about trust and cooperation. Jonathan, feeling his authority challenged and grappling with his inability to control the situation, made a hasty decision. "We'll go our own way," he declared, urging his family to gather their belongings. Isabella protested. "Splitting up reduces our chances." But Jonathan's mind was set, and the Kensingtons prepared to leave. Meanwhile, Officer Morales, patrolling nearby areas for survivors, noticed a dense smoke plume rising from the forest. Haunted by memories of losing his own family in a previous wildfire, he was determined to save others from similar fates. He radioed for backup and headed toward the smoke, hoping to reach anyone trapped before it was too late. As the Kensingtons stepped outside, the reality of their isolation became evident. The fire had advanced, and the path ahead was perilous. Sophia hesitated. "Maybe we should stay with the group, Dad?" Jonathan's resolve wavered, but pride kept him from reconsidering. "We'll find our own way," he replied, leading his family into the smoky unknown. Back in the cabin, Angela addressed the remaining group. "We need to stick together and prepare for evacuation. Help will come." As if on cue, they heard the distant sound of a vehicle approaching. Hope flickered among them, knowing that someone was out there, searching for survivors. The Kensingtons' departure had introduced uncertainty, but the group's unity remained their strongest asset against the encroaching danger. The Kensingtons, now separated from the group, faced a perilous journey through the wildfire-ravaged landscape. The air was thick with smoke, and the distant roar of the advancing flames served as a constant reminder of the urgency of their situation. As they navigated through the treacherous terrain, they encountered numerous obstacles. Collapsed bridges forced them to find alternative routes, burning forests blocked their path, and wildlife, fleeing the inferno, added to the chaos. The heat was oppressive, and the ground beneath them was hot to the touch. Their progress was abruptly halted when Isabella stumbled over a hidden root, falling to the ground with a cry of pain. Jonathan rushed to her side, his face etched with concern. "It's my ankle," Isabella winced, attempting to stand but faltering. Jonathan's frustration boiled over. "This is exactly why we should have stayed with the group." Sophia intervened, her voice steady. "Blaming won't help. We need to keep moving." Taking charge, Sophia fashioned a makeshift crutch from a sturdy branch, assisting her mother to her feet. Her calm demeanor and quick thinking provided a stabilizing presence, allowing the family to continue their journey, albeit at a slower pace. As they pressed on, the crackling of the fire grew louder, and the heat intensified. Without warning, a towering tree, its trunk engulfed in flames, began to creak and sway ominously above them. "Watch out!" Ethan shouted, pulling his mother to safety as the burning tree crashed to the ground, narrowly missing them. The close call left them shaken, the fragility of their situation starkly apparent. Jonathan's earlier confidence had eroded, replaced by a growing realization of the peril they faced. Determined to protect his family, he looked to Sophia, whose leadership had been instrumental in their survival thus far. "What's our next move?" he asked, acknowledging her newfound role. Sophia scanned the horizon, spotting a faint glimmer of hope. "There," she pointed. "I see a clearing. If we can reach it, we might find a way out." As the Kensingtons pressed on through the smoky terrain, they stumbled upon a firefighter's outpost. To their relief, they found Officer Morales coordinating rescue efforts alongside the evacuee group they had previously parted ways with, including Rick and Janine. Jonathan approached Rick, his expression sincere. "I owe you an apology," he began. "My arrogance put my family at risk. I should have listened." Rick offered a nod, accepting the apology. "We're all trying to survive. Let's focus on getting everyone to safety." United by a common goal, the group worked together to plan their next move. Officer Morales, driven by his past experiences of loss in previous wildfires, was determined to ensure no one else would suffer the same fate. As the fire closed in, the outpost became increasingly perilous. Flames licked at the perimeter and the heat was nearly unbearable. Morales rallied the group. "We have to move now. There's a rescue vehicle nearby, but we need to make a run for it." The group sprang into action, but amidst the chaos, Tommy, the young boy separated from his parents, froze in fear. Without hesitation, Morales scooped him up, shielding him from the encroaching flames as they dashed toward the rescue vehicle. Once inside, the vehicle sped away from the inferno. Tommy's eyes scanned the faces around him until they locked onto a familiar pair, his parents, safe and sound. Tears of relief streamed down their faces as they embraced their son, gratitude evident in their expressions. The group watched the reunion, their own fears momentarily overshadowed by the joy of seeing a family brought back together. Officer Morales, though exhausted, managed a small smile, his commitment to saving lives reaffirmed. As the rescue vehicle navigated through the smoky landscape, the survivors reflected on their harrowing journey. The bonds formed, the lessons learned, and the courage displayed would forever be etched in their memories. The road ahead remained uncertain, but together they had faced the flames and emerged stronger, ready to rebuild and support one another in the aftermath of the disaster. As the helicopter carried the Kensingtons to safety, the devastation stretched far below them. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to ash, their home among them. The once familiar cityscape had become an unrecognizable expanse of blackened earth and smoldering ruins. Isabella held onto Jonathan's hand tightly, and Sophia leaned her head against Ethan's shoulder, the weight of everything they had endured settling over them. At the evacuation center, the family found a different kind of strength. Volunteers worked tirelessly, distributing food, clothing, and emotional support to those displaced by the fire. The Kensingtons, despite their own loss, chose to contribute. Sophia played with children to lift their spirits, and Ethan helped carry supplies, discovering a sense of purpose he hadn't felt before. Isabella and Jonathan worked alongside others, offering comfort and sharing stories of survival. Jonathan, standing among the survivors, felt the enormity of the moment. For years he had measured success by material wealth. Now he saw the resilience of people who had lost so much, and yet still found ways to support one another. Turning to Isabella, he said quietly, "We have to do more. Rebuilding isn't enough. We need to prevent this from happening again." Later that evening, the family sat outside the evacuation center on a bench, silent but together. The firefighters had gained control over the fire's spread, and the air, though still heavy with the scent of smoke, seemed to carry a sense of promise. They watched as crews worked to clear the debris, and families embraced in relief. Though no external help came to extinguish the flames, the combined efforts of firefighters and volunteers had finally quelled the fire's advance. It wasn't nature that had saved them, but human perseverance and solidarity. The Kensingtons, once defined by their wealth and individual pursuits, were now closer than ever, bound by the lessons they had learned in the fire's wake. They weren't just survivors, they were determined to be part of the solution. Together, they resolved to use their resources to aid recovery efforts, support wildfire prevention initiatives, and advocate for environmental resilience. As the first hints of dawn broke through the smoke-filled sky, the family stood, ready to face whatever came next, not as individuals but as a united force, stronger than ever. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss what's coming next.